Taking on the Indiana Pacers, Game 7 of that first-round playoff series. The Raptors did have a chance to eliminate them on Friday, but the second half, they kind of collapsed, and that meant they're back tonight at the Air Canada Centre in Toronto. Remember that the Raptors set a franchise record of 56 wins in the regular season, but the last time they made it past the first round was back in 2001. Tip-off tonight, 8 p.m. Catch it on TSN. Blake Murphy is a writer with Raptors Republic. He joins us now to talk some more about Game 7. All right, Blake, how do they pull off a win tonight?
Well, the big thing is, and this sounds super reductive, they have to play better. The last 3 games, they have not looked at all like the team that won 56 games this year, not at all like the team that has won however many consecutive Atlantic Division titles, not at all like the team that, the fan base grew to expect would make a deeper run this year. And part of that is maybe Kyle Lowry's elbow issue. Part of that is the Indiana Pacers playing exceptionally well. But over the last 3 games, the Raptors have played maybe 18 minutes that you could call good minutes out of the 144. And it really comes down to they have to play better top to bottom. There's no one matchup that has to be better. There's no one player that has to be better. They have to play better, and whether that's a hunger thing or a backs against the wall thing in a Game 7 situation, they have to find whatever it is that's caused them to come out poorly the last 3 games.
All right, let's talk about the Indiana defense, because you say it's not one thing or the other, but they have a strong defense, and I want you to tell me how much you think that's holding the Raptors back.
It's huge. They were the number 3 ranked defense in the league by defensive efficiency this season. Paul George was custom made in a lab to shut down DeMar DeRozan. He's exactly the kind of defender that DeRozan has historically struggled with. And even though George is working with such a huge offensive load, he's done an awesome job on DeRozan still, and he deserves a ton of credit. That was somewhat expected coming into the series, but I don't think people expected Kyle Lowry to struggle as much. Lowry is still playing well, but he's not shooting well. And part of that is that George Hill, the Pacers point guard, is very long. He's a very good defender. And what he's doing is, even though Kyle Lowry is getting some open shots, he's forcing Lowry to shoot off the dribble far more than Lowry would like. Lowry gets a lot of catch-and-shoot threes, especially when Corey Joseph is on the floor with him. And George Hill and the Pacers bigs, who are coming up higher in the pick and roll the last couple games, they're making life tough for Lowry, where he has to pull up for more difficult shots than he would normally get in the flow of the offense. They're doing a great job around the floor.
Yeah, exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Let's talk about home court advantage, because it can provide that boost, mental boost to the team, but it can also mean a lot more pressure with all of your own fans watching there.
I think it's a positive for sure. There's a reason you play so hard all year long to get a Game 7 at home. Ideally, in a 2-7 seed matchup, you don't have to use home court advantage for a Game 7. But in this case, this is why the Raptors played as hard as they did, start to finish, all year long. They have one of the best home court advantages in basketball. The Air Canada Centre crowd and the Jurassic Park crowd are both well regarded. Paul George even admitted that after Game 5 that the crowd intensity in that fourth quarter was a factor. Norman Powell mentioned it as a factor. Patrick Patterson, Lowry, DeRozan, all of these guys are expecting that extra boost of energy from the home crowd, and it can't force them to come out and play a little better, but we saw at the end of Game 5, if this team gets on a run, they're really going to have that 6th man, and that's not something that's measurable necessarily, but the fact that the Raptors have played as poorly as they have the last couple games and enter this game as a 5.5 to 6 point favorite, I think speaks a lot about how people expect the ACC to kind of give this team a boost.
All right, Blake Murphy is with Raptors Republic. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me.